AG, how you doing?
Doing great, Wayne. Doing great. Thanks so much for having me, pal.
Oh, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. And for most people know you, but for those who don't, John Guy, Francoeur, everybody calls you JG. Do you mind starting off with maybe like your 30 or 60-second elevator pitch of who you are and what you do?
Well, first of all, your pronunciation of my name is spot on, buddy. You did great. I don't know if you rehearsed it or not, but it was great.
I did it in the mirror for 20 minutes.
Yeah. So just super short. I'm a best-selling author. I'm an entrepreneur. So I've essentially spent the last 15 years of my career building and selling businesses. And I've built and sold 7 different companies in the last 15 years. And one of my biggest companies grew to 170 employees in 14 countries. And I, through my entrepreneurial career, found out very, very quickly that if I was going to have any type of wealth and sustainability to my business and my empire, I had to include real estate. It took me about 8 years to figure that out. So the first sort of 8 years of my career, I did it without real estate. And the last 8 years, I've been doing it with real estate. So that's kind of just a highlight. I'm just businessman through and through, and just love the game, play the game every day to give back, play the game every day to build something meaningful that people can call home.
That's awesome. And where did that entrepreneurial spirit come from? Was that just out of nowhere, or were you always an entrepreneur?
You know what's funny is I was always entrepreneurial, but I was always entrepreneurial, but I never knew that I had a business gene in me. Like I remember my dad and I having conversations when I was a kid, and I was in my teens, so to speak, 14, 15, and my dad was talking to me about like maybe checking out stocks and investing in stocks. And my dad made a couple really, really smart money management moves with me when I was young. Like, for example, when I was 12 or 13, in the beginning of those teenage years when the kids want everything under the sun, he put me on essentially when he got paid, I got paid. And I got a certain amount of money. I think it was $80 every 2 weeks, which is a ton of dough when you're 12 and 13 years old.
Yeah.
But I had to buy everything. I had to manage all of my own expenses. I had to, notwithstanding food and shelter, I had to buy my own clothes. I had to buy my own school supplies. I had to literally manage my little teenage life. And I remember because I was kind of working with this money, he's like, you should maybe consider looking at investing some of your money in stocks. And I wasn't interested whatsoever. I wasn't interested in that. But I've always been entrepreneurial. I used to have like a little bike repair business where I used to charge my friends $5 to fix their bikes. And when I was 15 or 16, I raced Moto-Cross, and I used to again fix bikes for my friends and charge them and or barter if I needed that. But so I've always been entrepreneurial like that. But the business, I really developed the business sense when I went to school for business. And that story actually, Wayne, is and this is what I told you. We can go all day because I got lots of stories.
I got all day, man.
When I was racing motocross, I figured out pretty early that I wasn't good enough to make it, pro and make a living at it. I love the sport. So my thought was, this is how I got into business. My thought was, I'm going to learn the art of business, the science of business, so that I can start my own race team. That was my big idea. So I literally overnight dropped everything, sold all my racing stuff, sold my racing gear, sold my race bike, sold everything, took that cash, went to business school when I was 18 years old. And the whole thought was I wanted to start a race team. I got to business school, found out, wow, I actually found my passion literally on the first day. I was like, oh my God, this is what I've been waiting for. I've been in school like everybody else, and I didn't like any of those subjects, but this subject of business, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So then I kind of forgot all about the race team because I found my new love called business, and that's where it started at 18 years old.
Yeah. And so what was the first step? Like you started a business right after you left school, right?
Yeah. So my first quote unquote business I made it my business to essentially apply and make money from the bursary system. In college and university, there's bursaries where you get these cash rewards for various applications, and you can do these contests and get money for that. I mean, I was generating $15,000-$20,000 a year on bursaries by filling out the various applications and competing in the different business contests. I actually won a contest across all of Ontario for a business plan submission deal that we did, or a contest. And we won that, and that was $5,000. And then I applied to this other one that was $20,000. So I made that my own little business for like 2 years. And that's kind of what got me through college and university.
Competitive bursary tournaments.
I applied for the first couple, and I started getting them, and I thought, wow, you can actually do this. And it was great, and I loved it. And it was sort of refining my craft, right? It was the beginning of, because I didn't have a business idea. So I was just loving it. I was loving every minute of it, the business plans, the business planning, the strategic planning competitions, all that stuff. I did that for all of college, which was sort of 18 to 20 years old. Then I went to university, and I continued to do it for the first couple of years of university. And then I left university in my last year without graduating. So I'm a university dropout. So I left in my last year and started my first company with my wife when I was essentially 21.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you're an author as well. When did you write The Messy Manager?
So I wrote Messy Manager. Messy Manager, actually, speaking of your show with the dads, Messy Manager I wrote with my dad. Messy Manager is actually my fourth book. The first three books didn't do nearly as well as the fourth book. I wrote a book called Answers You're Aching to Know. I wrote a book called Booming Practice. I wrote a book called The Advanced Marketing Toolkit. And then I wrote Messy Manager. It's my fourth one, which ended up selling in 14 different countries. And it was a co-authorship between me and my dad. And and the reason we wrote it is because him and I had such diverse experiences. I had been this sort of through and through entrepreneur, bootstrap, hard time making payroll, can't afford food, that kind of stuff. And he, on the other side, had a very similar experience, but very different, where he was in the corporate world, and he started as a laborer in a mine and ended up owning a piece of that mine 35 years later. He literally worked at the same place for 35 years, kind of a Jack Welch kind of story. And so we wrote Messy Manager from both the entrepreneurial perspective and also from the corporate perspective. So it's it's got this cool dichotomy, this cool dual vision, dual purpose to it, which is why I think the book did so well. And I wrote that that was 6-7 years ago. Wayne? Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. It's time for I've actually been contemplating. I've been talking to Patrick Francie about this. I've been contemplating releasing a new version, actually, probably in the next, I don't know, maybe late this year or early next year.
Like a 2.0?
Yeah, a Messy Manager 2.0.
That'd be pretty cool. And you're pretty close with your dad, from what I can see. I mean, you guys run a business together as well. You both own Vista Property Group, right?
That's right. Yeah. So my dad and I, we've always been close. I wouldn't say we were very close in the teenage years, but after like most parents. But once I got to college and we kind of created this common bond of business. He loved business. I started loving business. From that point forward, we were very, very tight, and we ended up doing a ton of stuff together. And when I was building my first several companies, we traveled the world together. I've been to Australia. I've been all through Europe with him. He used to come with me on various business trips because, we had a company in 14 countries. I spent the last 5 years, from 2013 to 2018, I was going around the world 5 times a year. I was on the road 2 weeks of every month. We had 14 different countries, and I did them all. So, he came on a lot of trips with me. We developed a very deep relationship, very deep bond. And when in 2013, in 2013 or 2013, we came up with the idea of starting Vista Property Group, which was, quite simply, it was the purpose of it was to create a retirement plan and a pension plan for me and my family, and our family. My dad, I got my brother involved. We got some close friends involved, and we created this company called Vista Property Group. For the sole purpose of a pension plan, a retirement plan. We couldn't trust anybody else to manage our retirement for us, so we decided we'd manage it ourselves. So we launched Vista Property Group, and the idea was just to get enough properties to create a comfortable pension plan call it maybe 5 properties.
Mm-hmm.
And, here we are a couple dozen later, and a couple years later. So it's been quite good.
So what kind of properties are you guys investing in? Is it commercial? Is it residential? Or?
So we actually, our specialty, we started essentially the exact opposite of the way you're supposed to start. You're supposed to start with these simple single family residences and so on and so forth, and kind of go into duplexes and threeplexes and fourplexes and then multi and so on and so forth. We actually started in the development game. So we started by buying land and building duplexes and threeplexes from scratch. So we did that we're still doing that. We did that from 2013 to 2018. And then in 2019, because of the market shifts, we talk a lot at Wayne, about, as you know, we talk a lot about sort of market conditions and how you need to adjust your strategies based on what the market's telling you and where the market is at. If you stick to the same strategy all the time, you're probably bound to get burned sooner or later. So what we did is in 2019, when the market changed and the mortgage rules got stiffer, it got difficult to finance our developments and so on and so forth, we shifted to buying properties, doing more fix and flips, and we shifted to buying properties that needed essentially complete gut jobs from the inside, but not a development from scratch, but essentially what we call a redevelopment, which is gut it back to the studs and essentially redevelop the entire property. So we've been doing quite a bit of that in the last 12 to 15 months.
That's amazing. Yeah, actually, I saw one of your residential flips just recently. It looked beautiful.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, thanks. We've enjoyed the flips have been, you got to watch. You can't just flip in any market at any time. We did 4 flips in the last 6 months, and it's been quite good. And then we've done another 3 or 4 redevelopments in the last 12 months. Have been very, very busy. I mean, when everybody else was slowing down because of the tighter lending conditions, we decided to speed up, which is typically how we like to work.
It's a good strategy. So my wife, Gabby, she's been bugging me because I haven't really introduced the whole real estate investor dad podcast or theme. And she's like, nobody really knows she thinks it's all about just you're interviewing dads. And I said, that's just circumstantial. It's just, there was a few dads that I'm close with, and we all have the same like mind. We're all like-minded. And so, but you obviously are not a dad that you're aware of.
My wife's in earshot, so we got to watch, but I'm not aware of it.
So the whole real estate investor dad theme is more so about, that so many people come up to me and be like, how do you have time to do all this? You know what I mean? How do you work a full-time job? And how do you, manage all these projects? And how do you do it with a child? Or I can't do that. I've got a dog. And you know what I mean? Everyone's got their own little things and reasons why not. And the podcast and the whole, I don't want to call it a movement, is more so about recognizing and shining a light on it, that there are people that can do it. And the people that I want to bring on are the kind of people that I want to show how they do it, to give people more hope. For me, my example is I have a 4-year-old daughter and I work full time. The cool thing about you coming on is that you don't have a kid, but you work with your dad, right? And so how has that been for you, growing up with your dad from the other spectrum, you know what I mean? The other angle.
Well, I think that's a really great point. I think that, if the real estate investor dads that are listening to this, whether dads or moms or, family, essentially, I think one of the coolest gifts you can give your kids is this ability. I'm not a dad, but I do have a really close friend of mine, and his daughter, Emily, she's been investing various real estate projects. She's young. She's only 7 or 8 years old, and we're teaching her about investments. And my friend Rob, he's a partner in Vista Property Group, and we've been teaching and working with Emily and showing her the properties and showing her the tenants and showing her what these investments mean. And she's been putting some of her own hard-earned money into the projects and properties, and she's earning a return on that investment. And it's an incredible feeling to be able to take her around and show her the different properties and explain to her what's going on. And she's only she's young. She's 7 or 8 years old right now. So it's just the beginning. But imagine that Wayne, you show this to your young child at 4 years old and 5 years old. And then at 10 years old, you do something different. And then at 12 years old, they start maintaining the property and they start maintaining the grass and they start maintaining this stuff. Imagine that the lessons you can teach a child through real estate. And I think that that's incredibly awesome. I think my dad and I's relationship has been forged absolutely deeper than most because of the way we do business together, because most people talk to their parents, if they're lucky, weekly. If you're a good daughter, you're going to talk to your parents weekly. I talk to my dad every single day, several times a day, because we do business together. So we're not always just shooting the breeze, but we're very close. And these memories that we built together are going to last a lifetime for us. And we've done amazingly good things for communities and for people and for investors and for everybody that we work with. And it's something that we've done together. So all that to say that I think the real estate investor, dad, mom, family component of it, you're doing something much more, even more beneficial on the other side that you may not even be realizing you're doing sometimes. So I think that that's a really cool perspective, Wayne, that a lot of people, don't give themselves enough credit and don't give enough thought to that. I mean, you could teach so many lessons to kids and families through real estate. And now actually, because I won't be having kids, my wife and I are not interested in having kids. I am going to be starting, and I've been thinking about this for some time now. So this is the first sort of real announcement of it, Wayne. Yeah. So, and I don't know when, and I don't know the details, but an idea I've been playing with for some time is I'm going to launch essentially my own version of a school, or my own version of a scholarship, or my own version of that to teach people who want to get into real estate, who want to work at Vistra Property Group. They might be able to intern at Vistra Property Group. They might be able to work their way up at Vistra Property Group. If they don't have the capital to get involved in real estate, we'll teach them. Just like I would a child of mine or a child of yours, I'll be able to start. I'm going to start that young with some kids. And like I said, it's just an idea I've been throwing around, but that's where I'm going to be going.
I love that. That's amazing. It's to be able to mentor someone young. And I've always been passionate about something like that too. But it's really hard to find people who are coachable, obviously. So if you could find someone who'd be, that has that drive, that you could basically take their hand and show them how it's done, that's amazing. I'm actually looking forward to that. I might steal your idea. And you've always been super creative like that. You're the marketing guru, the innovative guru. Where did that all come from? Where did the whole marketing and innovation and creative side of you come from?
Well, what's funny is I think the marketing skills I have were not. I learned those. They say my drive is kind of built into me, and even that I learned that. I mean, who I am today is a manufactured product, so to speak. Like I built myself this way from years of self-development, years of working with mentors, and for the first 15, and I still have mentors today. I still work with mentors every single day. I think every leader should have mentors that they work with and mentees that they work with. And so I still have mentors that I work with. And my last business, I had a mentor I was very, very close to, and he taught me so much. And I built a lot of businesses working with mentors, the likes of Bob Proctor, the likes of Tony Robbins, the likes of Jerry Robert, the likes of these great names that I've worked with literally, side by side with them for 15 years. So the marketing skills I have, I've learned them. They weren't there I've always been a good salesman. I've always had that salesmanship. I remember my dad telling me a story, and I remember this too, but we went to these boat races when I was a kid. Oh boy, I must have been 8, 9, 10 years old. I mean, I was young. And I saw these guys selling popcorn, these kids selling popcorn. So I decided that I wanted to sell popcorn too. So I went up to the guy, talked to him, figured out who his boss was, went to talk to the boss, got myself a little gig that weekend where I could sell popcorn and keep half the money. And it was great. So I've always been, I've always enjoyed salesmanship, and marketing is really an extension of that, because marketing is in many ways sales on a bigger scale. So I've always enjoyed that, and it's a skill that I keep refining today. It's just marketing is just a skill. You know, you're doing this amazing things with your podcast. You're doing amazing things with your business, you and Gabby. And those are things that you've learned. You've taken some ideas that I've shared with you. You've taken some ideas I've shared on the Rain stage at Acre and, you know, the different platforms I speak on, and you've implemented them. And that's what you got to do to be a business leader today, is run with these marketing ideas.
And constantly be developing. Like you said, self-development is so important. It's not just about, you know, the market or real estate, you know, you grow with how you develop yourself. And I mean, obviously you've grown quite a bit, because all of this has kind of led to the opportunity with joining Rain last year as well, right? The chief growth officer.
Yes.
And I apologize, because I took a small break from meetings from Rain right when you joined. So I never quite saw you come on the stage or realized how that all came to be. So how did that whole opportunity develop?
Great question. So what happened is I've been a Rain member since 2013. My first real estate investment decision was to join Rain. Before I bought a single property, before I did any investments, I joined Rain, because I knew that I had to protect me from me in the real estate game. You know, you can get hurt so badly in real estate. You can just, it could be so devastating if you make the wrong move. Just as much as it could be if you make the right move, it could go so well in real estate. I mean, it's a very polarizing sport. You're either doing great or you're not doing great. And I knew that I had to protect myself. I had to manage the risks. And the way I did that was by joining Rain. So I've been a member since 2013, in the crowds, listening, going to Acres. I never went to the meetings because I was traveling the world. So I would catch the meetings online. I would catch the recordings. I'd watch the videos. I'd watch what's behind the curtains. I'd read the magazines. I'd read the reports. But I didn't go to the meetings very often. And then what happened was when I sold my company in 2018, and I freed up 80% of my time, I planned on kind of taking a bit of a break. I called it, a little bit of a retirement break. And I ended up, that lasted a whole 4 days. So I ended up, Rain got a hold of the fact that I was a free agent, so to speak. They asked me to come on and help them, take Rain to the next level. Rain's been around for 27 years and has reinvented itself many, many times. And now because of where the real estate game is at in general, and where the market is at in general, and where social media has gone, and where YouTube has gone, and where the age of information has gone, Rain is in the middle of a reinvention itself. So we've been reinventing Rain for the last 18 months, and it'll probably take another 18 to 36 months to get through our transition as we reinvent, what Rain means and who Rain is to people. So, I'm honored to work with Patrick Francie every day. I think he's great. I've learned an amazing amount of things from him. He's one of the people I consider a mentor, and I'm happy to work with him day in and day out, side by side, as we go through this. So that's kind of how it came about, Wayne. It was a serendipitous turn of events that was properly timed for them and for me. And I knew once I sold my other company that I would be going all in on real estate. I didn't think I'd be the chief growth officer for Rain Canada. That wasn't part of my plan. That kind of just happened. But I'm thrilled. I love giving back. I love speaking on the stage. I love going to Acres. I love speaking at Acres. I love helping people, because if it wasn't for other people loving to help people, I couldn't have done what I've done. I wouldn't have been able to learn everything I've learned and attach myself to these great mentors. And it was their openness and their willingness and their gratefulness. So I got that because they gave that to me, so I continue to give it back as well.
That's amazing. And obviously everybody loves you. You know what I mean? You're a really likable guy. You're great on stage, and there's so many cool new things that have been going on in Rain lately with all the reports are changing, and then the structure's all changing, and it's pretty exciting, and everybody's really embracing it and loving it. And you touched on Acre. Let's talk about Acre a little bit, because that's coming up at the end of September 27th, right?
Yeah, so Rain does 4 acres a year. We've been doing that for 20 some odd years. And September 27th through 29th is Edmonton. And then November, oh boy, now early November is in Vancouver. And then that'll take us into the end of the year. So, I mean, Acre, you've been to Acre. How many times have you been to Acre, Wayne? You've been a couple times?
I've been 3 times. It's the Super Bowl of real estate investing.
That's the best way to put it. I mean, nothing else could be said. It's literally the place where you have the who's who of real estate. You have all the investors. You have the new investors, the mid-size investors, the big investors. You have people with one door, one property, hundreds of properties. You have the teachers. You have the speakers. You have world-class speakers. I mean, this year we're gonna have Stephanie Hanlon on the stage, who's an Olympic coach, and who at the last Olympics, her teams dominated the podium. Like her teams were on the podium for every single of her events. I mean, what an amazing gift. And I made a post the other day on social media, and I said, how can you not be successful when you're surrounded with such greatness? And like, this is available to people. You come out to Acre, you get to be surrounded by the likes of Stephanie Hanlon, Patrick Francie, and we have so many other great speakers that are there that are going to simply, illuminate what real estate is all about. And it's literally impossible, Wayne, not to get a positive return on your time investment and on your money investment by coming to Acre, because it's the Super Bowl of real estate investing.
And yeah, I totally agree. Every time I go to an Acre event, my wife and I, we leave, or like, the Saturday night we're out and we're having dinner and drinks, and we're like, we get inspired, we get pumped up, and our best results are always after the Acre weekend. Because like you said, you're surrounded with like the likes of the best real estate investors around, and it's super empowering. I love it. And I should have verified, but I heard the breakout rooms are back. There's a few breakout rooms back on Sunday. Is that true?
Oh, look at you. Now you're releasing the inside scoop. Yeah, you are 100% accurate. Breakout rooms are coming back. We're going to have 2 breakouts on Sunday. And, Rain has always had this Rain has an amazing challenge and has done an amazing job for 27 years. And that is, we have all of these various investors in our room, from people who are just starting out, to people that have a couple doors and are growing to the next future, to people who have a couple doors and they don't want anymore, to people who have hundreds of properties and have multifamily buildings with 50, 100, 200 units. So how do we educate and speak to that diverse group of investors? And we have tried so many different strategies over the years, but I got to tell you that since I've been there, the one thing that I've heard time in and time out, day in and day out, is people wanted the breakouts to come back to Acre. So we're bringing them back this year to Acre, and it's going to be a huge hit. Yeah,
it's obviously it's one of my favorites. It was one of my favorites as well. But I understand the logistics of it on your end is a little more complicated. That's a pretty big event to be managing.
And the other thing too is Acre this year, and this, we're calling it the Acre Real Estate Investor Summit, because this year Acre is going to be, for many years now, Wayne, and if you took a bit of a break, if you've been coming to, like, there are some people who've been coming to Acre for 20 some odd years. So especially in the last 3 years, you've been seeing Acre change. Every year we're making tweaks, we're making adjustments. This year is probably going to be one of the biggest leaps forward we're taking, because we have launched Real Estate Investing in Canada's online program. It's going to be launching soon. It's still super top secret, so only your listeners know about it right now. But the foundation of Acre, the foundational information about cash flow zone, about gold mine scorecard, about all the things Rain teaches, that is going to be taught in an online program now. So that frees up an amazing amount of time at Acre to bring in new relevant information to help our investors get to the next level. That's never been possible before because we used to cover the foundation all the time, which for new investors, it's fantastic. But for investors who've heard it 15 times, it gets a little bit, boring, if you will. So what we've done is we've taken that part, we've put it into an online program that people are going to have access to. And not only did we take the information, we've actually added more content than I've ever seen before in an online program for real estate investors and put it in this online program. So this is going to make the biggest giant leap forward for Acre that we've seen in the last half a decade for sure.
That's amazing. I'm super excited for that. If people are interested in going to Acre, how do they go to real estate? They go to raincanada.ca.com.
Yeah, raincanada.com. You can get your tickets there. Absolutely awesome. And it's really a once a year opportunity. You'd be crazy not to attend, whether you're just thinking about getting into real estate, whether you're in the game right now, whether you're in the game, want to get to the next level, or whether you're an experienced investor and you just want to get you want to get the cutting edge information of where the real estate market is at right now in Edmonton, in Alberta, what's happening, where's it going, where's my future heading, you got to be at Acre.
It's a no-brainer.
No-brainer.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Obviously, I'm going to be there. I hope to see everybody there. I've been talking to everyone in our network, in our community, and everyone's going. It's the place to be. Before we wrap things up, I was hoping to add a little more value. Obviously, like I said, you're the marketing guy. You're the social media guy. For the new investor, for the seasoned investor who's, having trouble on social media, they're like, I don't really want to put that out there, and they're a little hesitant. Yeah. What's your top tips for that, for getting a little more outgoing on social media? Well,
so a couple things. The first thing is I always find it funny that people say that they are, and I see it every day. I deal with this every day, but I find it funny when people say that they're hesitant and they don't want to share this and they don't want to share that and all. And I say, but I've just been looking at your social media profile and you have every meal you've ever eaten for the last 8 years on social media. You seem to not have a problem sharing your food. You seem to not. So people, it's funny that I have other people that I work with, very close individuals, and they spend all day, every day, taking selfies and posting them, on their various selfies and so on and so forth. But they have a difficult time doing a video and telling people what they're up to, or telling people some advice, or telling people something of value. So I find it funny. And I think it's because people get in their own heads about, it's just like speaking. It's just like speaking, Wayne. People ask me all the time, are you nervous public speaking? And my answer is no. I'm not nervous one bit. Whether I'm talking to you one-on-one like this, or if I had a crowd of 1,000 right here, I don't get nervous whatsoever. And that's because I don't have any secret. I don't have it was taught to me early on that you're only nervous if you're worried about what they think about you. If you're worried about you, then you're going to be nervous. So don't make it about you. If you were right now, Wayne, let's just get down to the nuts and bolts of it, because it's all a mental mindset. It's all a paradigm that's in your head. So if you were worried about what people thought about you, you wouldn't be able to do this podcast. You wouldn't be able to help all the people that you help. You wouldn't be able to help all the dads, the moms, the families, the real estate investors by doing your podcast, because you'd be caring about, well, is that the right shirt? Is the purple in that girl's shirt on your real estate investor dad t-shirt, which is super badass, by the way, is it is it the right purple? Should I make her hair brunette instead of blonde? Should my hair be red? You'd have all these things. Is the microphone too big right there? What about the blue blazer? Does the blue wash out my eyes? All this bullshit. This is all fabricated. This is all fabricated. People fabricate this in their mind in order to not take action, because it's easier to not take action than it is to take action. So all that to say, that you've got to work on that mental mindset. And Wayne, let's take you for example. You probably thought about a podcast for a certain amount of time before you did it. Would that be correct?
Oh yeah, it was quite some time. Yeah.
Yeah. So what?
Quite some time.
Other than the time, because you're a busy guy, you're a real estate investor, you got a full-time job, you got a young family. Well, other than the time, what else was stopping you? Let's just talk about it. What else was stopping you? What story were you telling yourself?
Well, just like you said, you start thinking about what everyone else is thinking. It's what are they going to think of you? Because you grow up as a kid, a teenager, a young adult, and you meet all these different people in stages of your life, and they kind of create this image of who you are, and I find it kind of prevents you from growing. You know what I mean? Because everyone has this image of you and this perspective of you, this, I guess you'd say maybe paradigm, that's who you are. And it kind of prevents you from growing, because when you try and grow and try and develop yourself, people are always like, that's not Wayne. Or, that's not JG. Who does he think he is? Yeah. So you start thinking about all those people and how is this going to affect what they think about me? How is this, what are the hockey guys going to think about me? And yeah, I'm getting roasted. Here's the real estate investor dad. But you know what? But it doesn't really matter. After a short period of time, everybody just they adapt and they see who you really are and what you're doing. And it's for me, I'm not selling anything, right? So I'm just helping people, and that's the most important thing to me is kind of spreading that. And I'm having a lot of fun. I'm glad I did it. I hate that it took so long. I think it took 9 months. When really, as soon as I made the decision, it took me 7 days, just to get everything up and running. So, I could have been helping a lot more people. I could have been putting out a lot more episodes, but I totally agree with you.
Let's talk about that for a sec, because here's where it changed for you, right? You were getting roasted by the hockey guys and so on and so forth, and people were making comments, and that's all normal. There's nothing wrong with that. But where it changed for you, and I know because it happened to me, and it happens to everybody who puts themselves out there, and that is someone came up to you at some point and said, Wayne, that last episode you did really spoke to me. It shifted something inside of me. I made this decision, made this move forward, and my life is better because of it. And you realize, shit, it's not about me. It's not about the hockey guys roasting me. It's not about the comments I get. It's about that person and the moves they just made in their life. So that's, 100%. And it's the same. Like I took a social media hiatus essentially, and I'm the marketing guy. And I took a social media hiatus in early 2018 for like 6 months. And I got to tell you, the number of messages I got from people that were like, you have got to keep posting your stuff. You have got to keep doing videos. You have got to I used to do a show called, if people go to my YouTube channel, they'll see a show I used to do called The Hustle Cam. The Hustle Cam. And it's all, yeah. So, and I'm actually thinking about bringing it back. So, and people are like dying for the Hustle Cam to come back because it gave people hope. It gave people inspiration. It gave people something to drive for. And we all need that, Wayne. Some days, not every day is perfect for you. Not every day is perfect for me. Some days are more challenging than others. And it's all of us working together that really gets the magic going so that we can keep ourselves inspired, keep others inspired, keep moving it forward. And it's because it matters. It's not about you, it's about them. So when someone's having a difficult time posting on social media, there's two advice I like to give. One, it's not about you, it's about them. So stop making it about you, right? That's the first advice, which is what we just talked about. And the second thing is the most difficult part of social media the most difficult part is the creative act of creating content. That's very difficult. Mm-hmm. That's why podcasts work so well, because you didn't create any of this content today. You asked me to come on. I created the content for you. I know. I'm giving away your secrets, but But that's right. So creating content is very, very laborious and very, very difficult. So here's my advice to people, which is advice that was passed on to me, is document, don't create. Document, don't create. So you don't have to reinvent the world. You don't have to create new content every day. Just document what the hell you're doing. That's what you're doing. You're just telling us Wayne's story by interviewing different people. And you're making it as easy as possible, and you're adding, and there's nothing wrong with that. You're adding a ton of value in the process, an absolute ton of value, and you're a better human being for it. You're making better human beings for it. You're inspiring people. You're having people be more grateful. You're having people be more hopeful and inspired, and that's a beautiful thing, all because you brought on this crazy Frenchman on your podcast. You know, it's...
You're absolutely right. And you know what? Even just 6-7 years ago, when I was first looking at real estate investing, it was hard. I'm Googling like crazy, and I'm thinking to myself, I can't afford a RAIN membership, and all those limiting things. And I'm just trying to find all this free information. It was so hard. But now, like, just imagine if you were, getting into real estate and you saw someone on your feed who was Facebook living over at their open house, you know what I mean? And talking about, you can create so much value to those people, just by throwing the camera in front of your face and just saying what you're doing. Like you said, every day you're doing stuff anyways, right? You're putting together a rental listing, you're looking at properties, you're out with your realtor. There's so much value you could create by just putting the camera next to you and telling people what you're doing. And that's it. It's that simple.
And it's literally making, because and that's the thing we all got to realize. One small, it's Sunday afternoon right now. We're recording this. It's Sunday afternoon. It's noon, 12:48 for me. It's 10:48 for you. And people would think, Wayne, JG, you guys are busy people, man. Why are you doing this? But in my mind, if this helped one person, just one person, that's all I'm looking for, just that one person. We don't need this. For me, I don't need this to impact millions of people. If it makes one person and impacts one person some way, shape, or form, that will make a ripple effect out. And the world will literally not be, we might be getting a little too deep here, Wayne, but the world will literally not be the same place because we did this podcast, because we affected that one person. They'll affect one person. They will affect one person. They will affect one person. And it becomes this exponential wave that you just can't measure. So, and that now people that are listening to this podcast are thinking, okay, well, that's you, JG. You're the best-selling author. You've had all these businesses. You've had all this success. You've spoken on stage with all these big names. That's you. You can do that. Wayne, you're special. You're the real estate investor dad. You got a podcast and you play hockey and you could do that, but I couldn't do that. But that's where, again.
Wait a minute. But JG, you rippled to me. Right? So here we go. It's going right from you to me. Now it's going on to you. Anything's possible. Sorry, I might have killed your flow there.
No, but it's exactly right. And the point is that, again, that person thinking that, you're making it about yourself. It's not about you. It's not about you. The ripple is not about you. It's about them. It's about others. So, that's why I love coming on podcasts. I did this podcast with these two guys in Peterborough, and we had just the best time. We laughed. If you go to, where did I post? So I posted on my social, but if you go to my,
yeah, I saw it.
You posted with Mark Millions and Macaulay podcast, and we just had such a great time. And these are two real estate agents who got a podcast going, and it is so much fun, and it inspires people, makes people laugh, and it's just so much fun. So, that's why I think what you're doing is absolutely great, Wayne. I think it's so valuable, and I really do hope that people get out there and start posting more of their experiences and start posting more of what they're doing and what they're up to, because you never know who you're going to inspire and give hope to in the process. And you're going to be changing lives day in and day out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that, JG. That's fantastic. And I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of value from this. Maybe some people are going to take some action.
Were we supposed to talk about real estate? I feel like we didn't talk about real estate at all.
Real estate's the easy part, in my opinion.
Well,
it's about you. It's about taking action.
It's funny.
Right?
It's funny you say that, because I was talking to Stephanie Hanlon the other day, and I interviewed her on Rain Canada. If you go to Rain Canada's Facebook page, you'll see my live interview. You saw it, right, Wayne?
Yep.
And I started the interview by saying, Stephanie, you're an Olympic coach. You've had all these people on the podium. You've helped people go through adversity. You'd have people rise to the resilience of their issues and challenges. What does being an Olympic coach have anything to do with real estate? What does it matter? Why does rain? This is what I love. I don't think people get it. The new people definitely don't get it. The experienced investors get it, but the new investors don't get it. Why does rain continue to bring out mindset experts, health experts, paradigm experts, people who understand the mind, people who understand the subconscious mind, people who understand the universal laws, why does Rain keep bringing these people out to real estate conferences? What do you think, Wayne? What's your answer to that?
That's exactly what we talked about. It's all about mindset. It's all about, you're the one that's limiting yourself from taking action, right? Anybody can buy a property. I keep saying that. People ask me about real estate investment. Anyone can go buy property. That's simple, and you follow the acre system, you'll figure it out. It's not that complicated. Just stick to the basics. But continuing to buy real estate and keeping your mindset on track is the most difficult part. Because, we talked about it earlier, all the limiting beliefs about, what people are thinking about you. It's also, the day-to-day things that are limiting you from taking action to growing your portfolio So honestly, that's the best part about going to Rain is, like I said, you leave and you're inspired, right? I don't leave and have a property in my hand. I leave and I'm inspired. I'm ready to go take action. That's why I love going to Acre. That's why I like going to Rain events. That's most important. That's what I think. I
love that. That's great, Wayne. Beautifully said.
Yeah.
You're a natural at this podcast thing.
Yeah. You know what? Like every morning when I drive in, I got an hour drive into work every morning, and all I'm listening to is something that's inspiring me or something that I'm learning. I'm constantly learning, constantly listening to people who, great people, inspiring people, because, you listen to one bad piece of music, in the morning, and that'll totally affect your day. It'll totally affect the way that you analyze things, the way you speak to people, the way you react. So you always have to be in that almost peak state. And so I'm really thankful to Rain for like you said, consistently having people on stage who are there to kind of help you with that. I was going to bring something up and now I completely forgot it. You know what? Let's talk about mentors while we're on that topic. Who's inspired you the most as you've progressed as a real estate investor and as an adult?
Wow, what a question. That's a big question. I haven't been asked that question in a long time. So some of the mentors that I've worked with personally and still work and follow their work very closely is, so I worked with back in the day. Some of these names might mean something to you and some of them might not mean something to you, but so back in the day, Harv Eker, I don't know if you, Harv Eker got me on the track of financial freedom when I was 20 years old. Then I worked with and studied very closely John Assaraf, Bob. I've worked personally. I was business partners with Bob Proctor and worked personally with him. His knowledge of the mind is unbelievable. I worked very closely with Tony Robbins and his company, and I still follow their work very closely. That's been amazing. I was business partners with Jerry Robert, who's also business partners with Bob Proctor. That we own a marketing company together, and working with these mentors, I've grown an amazing amount by listening. All those people, I've listened to their work. I've read all their books. I've listened to their work. I still follow them on YouTube and podcasts and so on and so forth. But I gotta say that there's a saying that Proctor taught me, which was proximity is power. And when I
I love that.
working hand in hand with them, literally week in, week out, some of them day in and day out, it is impossible, Wayne. If you're either going to adapt and grow because you're literally forced to, or you're going to leave. And you're gonna, because when you work side by side with the likes of a Bob Proctor and Jerry Robert, nothing is impossible. We come up with an idea and it's got to get done. And I remember when we had a marketing company. We operated in Canada and the U.S. And we came up with the idea to go global. And it was like, yeah, let's do it. Yep. And it was just like, it was as easy. It wasn't easy, but it was as easy of a decision to go global as it was to get a cup of coffee. It was just like, yeah, do we want to do this? Yes, then let's do it. That's it, done. Start working towards it. And so I was forced, quite literally forced, and I'm so grateful because you can't, and that's why going to Rain, going to Acre, going to programs like Rapid Cash, you can't get this, and this is, and we're going to go on a tangent now, Wayne. So I hope it's okay. But
go for it.
You can't get this shit from YouTube. You can't get this stuff from reading books. You can't get this from just listening to podcasts. That's a key part. But you got to put yourself in that environment, and if you do, you will be changed forever. Which is why you got to pay the money and go to the course. Pay the money and go to the program. Pay the money. Travel like I used to. Back in 2007 to 2009, when I was, purely as a student of this material, I was traveling all over the damn world to work with these people on my own dime, just to be close to them, just to be able to be in their sphere and in their circle. I would volunteer at their events. I'd do anything to be close to them, and it paid off for me in absolute spades. So that's really, really a key thing, Wayne, is to really put yourself in the environment, I think, is the most key thing. And the problem I find with today's digital revolution, information revolution, and YouTube and Facebook and all that stuff. And listen, I love that stuff more than anybody else because it gets the message out, it gets the awareness out. But people think that it's enough to get the full transformation. And in my opinion, it's not. You got to put yourself in that environment. You want to invest, you want to learn how to invest in real estate. Let's just say I was a young dad. I'm going to give you a purpose. I'm a young dad. I'm 30 years old. I got a young 4-year-old at home, and I work full time, and my wife works full time, and we're trying to make this happen, but it's having a hard time. Me listening to Wayne Hillier's Real Estate Investor Dad podcast is not going to be enough. I should go work with Wayne. Wayne, what do you need? I'm going to go side by side. I want to go see what you're doing. I want to go, and that's going to take, and this is what, now I'm really going off in tangents, but this is what Bob Proctor taught me the best, which is there's a price to pay for everything. So by me, if I wanted to go work with you, Wayne, side by side, right there beside you, then there's a price to pay. I'm going to have to be away from my family. I'm going to have to miss the bedtime story with my daughter, whatever the case may be. There's going to be a price to pay. Are you willing to pay that price? Sometimes it's yes, and sometimes it's no. And that's okay. Figure out if it's yes or no and make the decision.
Yeah. And you don't always have to pay money. Like you said, that's a great example of, just adding value or offering value to a mentor is super powerful as well, because you're giving them something in return for it, right? And they'll reciprocate that. And I'm glad you brought up paying for courses and the YouTube thing, because I'm so tired of people saying, I could just get that on YouTube. And I'll tell you right now, and you will agree with me, I tried. It doesn't effing work. I wasted 3 years, like every day, constantly on my phone, just finding these little articles and trying to get this free information. It doesn't work. I did nothing for 3 years. I go to 1 Acre event, everything changes. Like literally, I joined Rain and I went to Acre like a couple weeks later, and it completely changed it. And then I took action. You know what I mean? And there's alternative ways too. You can pay for a coach, you can pay for a mentor as well, but why pay for, nothing wrong with paying for coaches. I think it's great, but why pay for a coach when you can just go to Acre or a rain event and you can be with everyone there and talk with all of them for significantly less. So yeah, going to events like that are just so powerful.
And that's a great point, Wayne. And that's the level that we're at right now, that's something most people are at, is they may not have to pay for a coach. They might just, Acre might be good enough. But let's just say, Wayne, you said, you know what, I want to make this a go. I'm going to make this huge. I want to build $100 million portfolio. I want to get massive into multifamily. You might have to hire a coach. You might have to, you're going to have to pay a new price. You're going to have to go to the next level, because the current level you're at is not going to be enough to get you to the next level. And I love that you had the experience of, let's call it the YouTube failure, because everything's on YouTube today, and it's so amazing. It literally is. It's life changing. But if you truly want that change, if you truly want that transformation, that breakthrough, as Tony Robbins would call it, if you really want that breakthrough, you need to take massive action, and you can't do that from watching YouTube. You have to go to the next level, which is the course, the event, the whatever it is for you. Take that next step, people, because that's where the freedom is, on the other side of that next step, not watching YouTube on the couch.
All right. So we'll end the podcast on screw YouTube. And I love YouTube. I've learned so much. I love the information age. I'm so happy. But when it comes to real estate, surround yourself with the people who know what they're doing. Go find someone who's doing what you want to do, and ask.
The test is simple, Wayne. The test is super simple. It looks like this. Do you have what you want to have right now? If the answer is yes, then what you've been doing has been fantastic. If the answer is no, then you need to change course.
It's going to be a great clip. Thank you for that. Oh, this is amazing. And to be honest, I want to keep talking for another hour, but I think what we should do is next time we'll bring your dad, Michelle, on and see if he has the same things to say about you and working with you, and we can get the father-son.
I love it. I think that would be so awesome.
Thank you so much again, JG. I guess, how do people find you on social media? Obviously, they know your name. They'll find you on Facebook, Instagram.
The best, they can find me on JGF Marketing is my handle on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. If you check out my Facebook page, is Vischer Property Group, which is our company. And I mean, I own 7 companies, so it's kind of hard to nail me down within one company. But best place for people to find me is if they come to Acre. You'd love to sit down, have a beer, have a glass of wine, have a coffee, and chat. You'll be able to see me on stage, be able to connect with so many awesome investors like Wayne and everybody else that's going to be there. So I think if people want to get in touch, come to Acre. That's the answer.
That's awesome. And I look forward to seeing you there too. Obviously, everybody knows how to find me, Facebook and Instagram, Real Estate Investor Dad. And my website's prairiehomeinvestments.com. Thank you again, JG. I look forward to seeing you at the Acre event.
Thanks so much for having me, pal. Appreciate it so much. Cheers.
All right. Bye-bye.